Our series for June and July is called 8 Words, which, as you can probably guess, is going to take us through 8 weeks because it's 8 big words. We're not going to do 2 in 1 week. That gets to be a little too much. Last week we had our very first word. What was our first word last week? Does anybody remember? What did we talk about? Shema. Those of you who remembered actually shema'd, right? Shema means to listen and to act, right? To not just let things go in one ear and out the other, but to let them go in your ear, to rumble them around in your brains and in your hearts, and let them be real in your life. So when God says to you, hear me, what he's saying is not just hear my words, he's saying do them, put them into practice. That was our first word. Today we have the next word, which is Yahweh. That's how you pronounce those 4 consonants that are put together. No vowels in there for a very good reason, but it's pronounced Yahweh, and it means, well, we're going to get to what it means in just a moment. This all comes from our main verse that we're talking about. This itself was called the Great Shema because the first word is hear. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all your soul and with all of your strength. And today we're going to focus on the word Lord. And to help us get into that mindset and to learn a little bit more, we have a great video from the Bible Project. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this couple-minute video.
For thousands of years, every morning and evening, Jewish people have prayed these well-known words as a way of expressing their devotion to God. They're called the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And as for you, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. We're going to look at the second key word here, Lord, written in all capital letters. This is the personal name of Israel's God. We first learn the meaning of this name in the story of Moses and the burning bush in the book of Exodus chapter 3. God appears to Moses and he commissions him to liberate the Israelites from slavery. And so Moses wonders, what if people ask the name of the God who has sent me? And so God responds, tell them, YHWH has sent me to you. Now, that Hebrew word YHWH means I will be. In other words, God's name means that he is the one who is and who will be. God's existence doesn't depend on anyone or anything else. This God simply is. But it will sound kind of strange for Moses to go say to the Israelites, I will be has sent me to you. Only God can say, I will be. So in the next sentence, God tells Moses the version he should say aloud, Yahweh, the God of our ancestors, he has sent me to you. Now, that word Yahweh is the ancient Hebrew form of the verb he will be. And this is the personal name of the God of Israel. It appears over 6,500 times in the Old Testament. Now, here's what's interesting. Over the centuries, Israelites wanted to honor the sacred nature of this divine name. So, as they read the Hebrew Bible aloud and they came to this name, they stopped saying Yahweh and instead started saying the Hebrew word for Lord, which is Adonai. Now, this practice has been continued throughout the centuries, and so later, when people started translating the Bible into English, they adopted the same practice. Instead of spelling out the divine name, they translated it as Lord, spelled in all capital letters. Okay, you got that? Good, because there's more. Ancient Jewish scribes wanted to prevent anyone from even accidentally saying this name aloud when you read the Hebrew Bible. And so they came up with a visual device to remind you to make sure you say Adonai. They took the 4 consonant letters of the divine name. These letters correspond to our English letters, YHWH. Then they inserted the 3 vowels from the word Adonai and combined these together to create an artificial hybrid word, which if you pronounced it, it would say Yahuwah, but no Israelite ever said Yahuwah. It's simply a visual reminder to say the word Adonai. Now, it gets more interesting. Much later, Christian scribes came along who didn't know that Yahuwah was an artificial word, and so they began to say it aloud and spell it in their writings. This is the word that eventually entered into English as Jehovah. It's a word many people still use today. But the main thing is, the word Lord in all capital letters is an indication of the divine name. Don't confuse it with the word Lord in your English translations that's not in all capital letters. That is the actual Hebrew word Adon, which just means Lord or master. This word can refer to people like kings or the master of a servant, even a shepherd over his sheep. And sometimes biblical authors will use this word to refer to God, like in the phrases, the Lord of all the earth or the Lord of lords. But behind all of these words words, Yehovah, Lord, Adonai, stands the original divine name of the God of Israel. It refers to the one who was, who is, and who forever will be.
All right, so you awake now? Ready? It's like going to class first thing in the morning in school, right? Hitting the ground running. There was a lot of words there. We're going to unpack that. We're going to go a little more slowly because what we were taught in there was really, really important. Did you catch that? The difference of translations as well? How in English, when we started putting things in English, we didn't really understand the Hebrew as well as we should have, and we kind of messed it up. Yeah, that happens more often than we would like to admit as scholars. So we have to go back and figure that out. The more that we learn about ancient times, the more that we dig back into especially ancient Hebrew culture and language, the more we begin to understand the fullness of the God who sent Jesus not to do away with the Old Testament, but to fulfill the whole thing. And that to me is really exciting. So it all starts with this Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. So, quick review. Does God have a first name? What do you think? No? First names are what you know people as personally, right? Last names are your family names, what you're a part of. So what do you think? Does God have a first name? Okay, I hear a couple of yeses. I hear stunned silence, which means the last 3 minutes there was just stunned silence happening while they were chatting at you. Yes, I think the answer is yes. He has a first name. When he came to Moses and Moses said, "Who am I going to tell is this God who is going to rescue them?" God said, "Give them my name." He didn't want to be the type of God who said, "I am just the God of the sun or the God of the moon or the God who controls the harvest." He said, "No, I am who I am. I am. Like I existed before all else. I am before all else. I am." And so that became Yahweh. Yahweh. And did you see how the Jewish scholars and the Hebrew people who were trying to be so careful about not using the Lord's name in vain, how they protected his name in writing? They didn't want to say it out loud over the years. They put this fence around the name and said, no, we're not going to say that in that exact same way. So whenever you see and hear in the Old Testament the word Lord printed in all capital letters, this is hiding the truth of God's name. This is hiding his first name. This is not some generic Lord who is, Lord over a kingdom. This is the Lord of all things who actually has given you his name. So you can put that in. You can translate that in your head. You can be a little smarter than the scholars themselves when you're reading the Bible. Yahweh, the Lord, the God of your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations. So God wanted us to know his name. He wanted us to know that even though he was in charge of the whole universe, even though as we learn more about this universe and what is in it, he was the one who created it. And he's given you his first name to talk to him with. Do you ever feel, really excited about getting the phone number of somebody that maybe you really respect? Because then you can text them directly. Is there somebody in your life where you're like, oh, this is really cool. I can get a hold of that person right away. I have their number. I think everybody has those kinds of people. And what God is doing here is giving us that exact same access. We can go directly to him. We don't have to go through others. We don't have to understand God through science, through nature, through anything else. We can literally go directly to him. This personal nature was evident from the very beginning of our relationship with him. And I think that is the key. That is the big thing here. The question then is, can we be trusted with that access? Can we be trusted with the access to God, to know who he is, to have a direct line to him? You guys see this picture up here, right? What story does this refer to? What happened after Moses helped the people, after he went up on the mountain, after God had rescued them out of Egypt when they were wandering, and God comes and says to them, I'm going to be your God and you're going to be my people, and here's how you can live in relationship with me. And what do? Tell me this story. This was just a golden calf that the people who were impatient and waiting on Moses to return from the mountain, that they created and began to worship in place of the God who was literally in their presence. Imagine yourself at the base of this mountain, and on the mountain has descended an enormous cloud that you can't see into, and your leader, your friend, the one who you followed, through a sea that parted. Through a sea that parted. You followed him. He went up on the mountain, and he promised you he would come back. And as you look up that mountain, you see the cloud there. You see the presence of God. You know what he has done for you in the past. You decide that it would be better, because you're impatient, because you're not sure what's really going to happen. Maybe you're hedging your bets, right? Maybe something's going to come from this God. Maybe it's not. We're going to kind of make sure that we pray to a different God too. You decide that you're going to build your own idol, and you're going to pray to this. And this God that they prayed to, this image of this God, was not something they just made up. They had seen it done in other places. This is what everybody else was doing. They had been influenced to do this. Sound like anything normal today? Can we be trusted with a personal relationship with God? Think about that in your own heart. How well did you Shema this week? How well did you take care of the people around you? How well did you love your neighbor better than you took care of yourself? How much did you give the benefit of the doubt to other people instead of putting the worst construction on it? And in so many other ways, we always fall short. And so the question is, can we really be trusted with this personal relationship? In Matthew chapter 22, it says this, As for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Does that ring a bell? Well, didn't we just read this in the book of Exodus? Isn't this how God just introduced himself to us? He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. When Jesus is talking to people saying, look, the resurrection is real. Look, I am going to rise again, and I am going to give you life. I'm going to make sure that you rise again from the dead. People were like, I don't know about that. That doesn't kind of fit with my idea of what everybody else is doing. But yet Jesus says he is not the God of the dead, but he is the God of the living. In other words, that relationship that he called us to back on that mountaintop with Moses and the people is still there for us today. It's not just a relationship for people long ago who maybe understood the way of God better than we do. That has nothing to do with it. It's a relationship for now. And it's a relationship for tomorrow and for the next generation and the next generations to come. Because this God who gave us his name, who gave us a personal relationship with him, it's not just for one generation. It's for all people and for all who are going to come, because it is all about the living. He brings life through this relationship. This is the key. You see, God gives you his name so that you can have access to him, so that you can go to him with everything, your cares, your worries, your concerns, the difficulties in life, the celebrations, the questions about life, the universe, and everything else. But you see, there's more to it. A relationship is always a two-way street. And the question is, like, what's our role in this? What could we possibly do? Because the more we try to really get on God's good side with the things that we do, the more we push ourselves away from him. Because it pushes us away from realizing the magnitude of the grace that God has for us. If we let ourselves believe that we have to earn a relationship with him, then we take what Jesus did for us for granted. When Jesus died on the cross that we have up everywhere, the cross that you wear in jewelry, the cross that you see on big cathedrals, the cross you see everywhere, when we look at that, we see that Jesus gave everything for us. It's that culmination of the relationship that God started when he gave his name to Moses. He said, I am who I am. I will be your God. And as your God, I will bring you back into a perfect relationship with me. And the only way I can do that is by sacrificing my son. And when you meet him someday, he's going to do that willingly just for you, out of great love. This is the grace that God gives to you. He knows your name. And I think this is the turning point for a lot of people in their faith, because we can all kind of have some ideas about God, and we can believe a few things, some ways that he fits into the universe and fits into our life. But once we take it into our hearts, once we realize this Shema stuff isn't just words on a page, but it's real, that when you hear it, that God knows your name, and you start to realize that it changes who you are, that he's the God of the living, that he brings new life through this, it changes your outlook on the world. When the God of the universe knows who you are, when he claims you through the powers of baptism, he frees you from the worry and the guilt and the shame that just seem to go hand in hand with living in this world. Instead, he fills you with joy. Joy that will get you through every circumstance in life. He fills you with peace that will, it will come upon you in times that you don't expect. He fills you with an attitude of service to others, because you begin to realize that you are really not as important as you think you are, right? Are we there yet? No? Okay. All right. We're really not that important. Except we are extremely important in the lives of the people that God has placed around us. You are irreplaceable in the relationships that God has given you. Pour yourself into those. God knows your name as well, and he gives you grace, he gives you life, he gives you love, so that you can share this with others, so that you can share his name with others, so that people will know that the God of the universe, who created the largest things and the smallest things, cares specifically about you, and he gives you access to him directly. Yahweh. You can say it. It's okay. Don't take it in vain, right? Don't take it in vain, but use it. Use it. Use it as you pray. Use it as you speak to others. Use it as you read the Bible. Because, that's how God wants you to know him. All right, that's our second word in the Shema, all about Lord. The all caps Lord in the Old Testament is God's proper name, Yahweh. We learn that it's a combination of the consonants and the vowels from two different Hebrew words, and we learn that we can use it to remind us of the relationship that we have with God.